In this video, I'm going to explain why only focusing on lead cost is the wrong metric when you're running advertising and you're doing lead generation campaigns. So this video is for coaches, course creators, anyone running free trainings online. It's also for insurance companies, gyms. Essentially, it can be for agencies. It's for anyone who is running lead generation, and those leads need to mature into either booked calls or directly into sales on the page, but they go through some type of nurture sequence first. So the example I'm going to give is for my own agency. So let's say I am running a advertising campaign, and let's say I'm trying to get leads in for like a free ebook or a mini series or something, maybe to help people run ad campaigns themselves or to see why they need to work with us. So let's say I'm running that as an ad. Now, the first metric is going to be the cost per lead. So this is going to be the cost of someone clicking on my ad, going through to the landing page, entering their name, email, clicking submit, and then getting delivered that lead magnet. So if we're looking at this in terms of understanding campaign performance, typically most people are going to think that the cheaper the leads, the better, because more leads in the top of the funnel means more booked calls, means more people showing up to those calls, and more people buying my service or product. But the truth is that is not always the case, and just chasing cheap leads is not the approach to take. Now, I've worked with companies where they say to us, look, we just need cheap leads, we need cheap leads. The truth is sometimes that's the case, but many times it isn't the case. And I've got some examples here. So what we can see here is 3 different examples of 3 different cost per leads. Okay, so in this campaign number 1, this example number 1, we've got a cost per lead of £5. So that's a very, very cheap cost per lead. And example 2 is £10, and example 3 is £25. Now, what actually impacts cost per lead? It's going to be things like the offer, the creative, the landing page, the copy. It's going to be all of those kind of main variables, okay? The biggest one being what you're actually offering. Secondly is going to be the creative, and obviously the landing page as well is going to be up there with the kind of top reasons. So these are things you can test, and you can kind of improve that lead cost. However, lead cost does not cater for lead quality. And if we're just chasing cheap leads, we could end up getting the wrong type of people in the funnel. So let's use the example of my own agency. We need to have people who are business owners of a certain level. So we can't just have day one startups because they're not going to be able to afford any ad spend. They're not going to be able to afford to work with us, nothing like that. So we need to have businesses that are at least established and have a product that's working, that's proven, and they're probably running some type of paid media already, maybe spending about £100 a day. So we need to have business owners who are at least a little bit further along, and they're not like complete startup brands. We can't just work with anyone who's thinking about working with an agency or thinking about starting a business. That's not who we go after. So if I run ads and I use certain types of messaging, so the actual ad copy, the ad content, and the landing page, I could probably get leads for very, very cheap, but they're not going to be very good quality people. They're not going to be people who are actually going to go ahead and buy my product. So just chasing cheap leads is not necessarily the case. And we see this time and time again, same with education businesses. If you're just chasing the cheapest traffic, maybe you're going after geographical locations where it's cheapest, maybe the wording and the types of kind of hooks that you're having to use are getting cheap leads, but they're not buying. So you're just getting tons and tons of lead flow and a very low lead to sell rate. Also, if you're optimizing for the cheapest lead, and that is the metric that you're telling Facebook or Google to go after, a lot of the times it can optimize for those cheaper leads, but then again, it cuts down the quality. So that could be in terms of the placements where the ads are going. It could be in terms of we're not actually measuring any further down funnel events and optimizing for those. So the system is just cranking spend where it can get cheap quality leads, which is again, most likely going to be lower financially qualified individuals. So all of that is to say, in example number 1, cheap lead cost, example number 3, much more expensive lead cost. But let's see how this plays out. So with the cheaper leads, let's say there's a much lower, and this is again, based on, these aren't real numbers, but these are based on numbers that I've seen over and over again. So these are based on trends. The lead call booking rate. So in this funnel, it goes lead, call attended, and sale. That's typically like what it'd be like for my own agency. It could be the same for high ticket education businesses or insurance products, things like that. So cheap leads, but the booking rate is 5%, meaning the call cost is actually £100. Okay, so this one, however, we're paying double the lead cost, but we're paying half the call cost because the booking rate is 20%. All right. So they're better quality people. It's costing us more money to get them, but they're booking, more of them are booking a call. All right. Now, ideally, we would want cheap leads and a great call booking cost. And that can happen. I'm not telling you that it can't happen. It's just if we're only hyper obsessed with the really cheap leads, we could be missing out on realizing that actually our business can function very profitably and function better almost when we just have a slightly higher lead cost. Now, in example number 3, we've got an even higher lead to booking rate. The leads are even more expensive, But because the leads are quite a lot more expensive, even with a slightly better booking rate, or I guess a considerably better booking rate, we're still getting a more expensive call. It's still cheaper than this one over here, but it's more expensive than this middle one, okay? Next, we've got the show rate. So people can book calls, but do they show up for the calls? And also, when they show up, are they the right type of people? Which I've not added in here. I mean, that's kind of indicated by the close rate here. But, are we just getting tons of calls with almost like just waste of time prospects? Or are we getting calls with people who are financially qualified, genuinely looking for offering? So here in example 1, you can see we have a show rate of 50%, which is actually pretty good. It's the highest in this set of examples. And that gives us a attended call rate of £200, or attended call cost, of £200. In this one, the show rate is 33%, a bit more realistic. And that one, we're seeing £150 per call. This one, show rate 25%, and we're seeing £300 per call. So you can see the difference here. Obviously, the lower call show rate and the higher call cost means that this one is more expensive. Even though we had great lead cost over here, this one's now kind of sitting in the middle at our attended call cost of £200. Now you've got your close rate, okay? So this one here, let's say we have like a 40, they're all pretty similar. So let's say we have a 40% close rate. We're looking at £500 a call, a sale, sorry. This one here, we've got, again, nearly 40%, 38%. You're looking at a cost per sale of £400. And this one, let's say 38 again, so nearly 40. Because we're paying so much more per attended call, the cost per sale, again, is much higher. So I'm looking at £800 per sale. So this one's most expensive leads and most expensive sales in this example. This one's cheapest leads and second most expensive sale. And this one is middle of the road leads and cheapest sale. Now, if we were only tracking this top bit of data, so if we remove all of this, we would just be saying we need cheap leads, we need cheaper leads. But that's not the right approach, because as we can see here, it actually plays out in a different way. Now, these are just examples, and I've obviously, to illustrate this for the video, I've made these examples where the kind of slightly more expensive lead cost was equaling a more cost-effective sale cost. However, it's not always the case, but this is what we see many, many times. So I'm kind of making this video because this is just a very typical scenario that I see time and time again. Yeah, I speak to a lot of business owners who are saying, we just need cheaper leads, we just need cheaper leads. But cheaper leads aren't necessarily going to solve the problem in the business, okay? And the business could maybe be functioning like you're putting all your focus here in just getting cheaper leads, getting new agencies, just saying, look, we need another ad agency because the last one couldn't get us cheap leads and all that stuff. But actually, maybe your lead cost is sitting at like 10 or 15 pounds, and maybe that's totally fine. Maybe you do not need a cheaper lead cost, or maybe sitting 100 pounds, maybe you don't need a cheaper lead cost. Maybe what you need to do is say, okay, well, actually, what is the booking rate? What is the call cost? What is the attended call cost? And are they qualified prospects? Because maybe spending a bit more for a better quality prospect is going to, one, put less operational strain on the business because you don't need to take so many calls, to deal with so many leads. And ultimately, they're buying, and the cost per sale, this metric down here, is looking more favorable. So this is a quick video, but it's just something that I've noticed working with clients over the years and speaking with clients. And I wanted to highlight this because, yeah, not every lead is equal, and it's very, very important to be chasing ultimately revenue, so the right cost per sale, not getting hyper stressed about just the very, very top of the funnel metric, because it doesn't always trickle down linearly to a lower cost per sale. So I hope this video makes sense. I actually run a marketing agency. If you're interested in finding out more about that, there's a link in the description where you can go and have a look at what we do, watch our video testimonials, see our process, and then inquire to work with us. We work with mostly e-commerce brands. We also do education-based businesses, and we also do lead generation for a few very specific companies as well. So we've got a wide range of experience, and we can definitely see if it's something that we could help you with. With that said, thanks again for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.